Hi, everyone. I'm Kelly Leo, and I'm going to talk about the motivating conditions that need to be present for adults to learn online. This is according to Wlodowski and Ginberg's Enhancing Adult Motivation to Learn. Let's get started. There are 100 different ways to motivate adult learners, and a lot of you are already trainers and teachers and coaches, so you have experience in what works and what doesn't work when you're trying to motivate your learners. For me, there was this light bulb moment when I came across the actual conditions that Wlodowski and Ginsburg talk about. They're four motivational conditions, and they need to be in place before any of your strategies work. So, to help you make your motivational strategies even more effective, I would like to talk about each of these conditions, which are inclusion, attitude, competence, and meaning. Let's explore each one a little bit more. So, the first major motivational condition they mention is inclusion. Adult learners want to feel a part of a learning community, and I absolutely feel that with all of you. It's especially important in an asynchronous learning environment where we really aren't going to meet each other face to face. And then once adults have that trusted community, then they want to make sure that their voice is heard and respected. They want to experience authentic participation from their fellow learners. Adults have a lifetime of experience to share, and they want to share and learn from others' experiences. And all of that is a part of feeling included and therefore safe to share and grow. Another part of inclusion is not so much helping to create the goals of the course, although that is one way to go about it, but more importantly, to be given clear expectations and objectives in the course. If an adult is on their own and kind of floundering around trying to figure out what the point of the lesson is, they are going to disengage and lose their motivation. You can create the condition of inclusion fairly simply, just by allowing for introductions, like happened in our class, or participating in an icebreaker of some sort. So here's an example of a slide that I use in my trainings to create that inclusion. So I have my class come up with ground rules for how they're going to treat each other during the training. I ask them what they would like to see. And if they need some prompting, then I put up these ideas here. And usually from there, people are willing to pipe up with their own suggestions. I write down everything that they bring up on the whiteboard. And after they're finished, I put up this second side just to make sure we haven't missed anything. But there are usually some additional great ideas from my learners. And those ground rules stay up throughout my whole training. So, doing this exercise early on really helps establish that everyone's opinion is valued and heard, and that this is a safe, inclusive environment. The second major motivational condition that they mention is attitude. We want to help our adults develop a positive attitude towards learning, but trying to force them into it or talk them into it is usually pretty ineffective, right? So we have to create a condition where adult learners are looking forward to learning more, and we can do that in several ways. First, we can earn their respect as a teacher. For example, not using outdated models to convey information. We can also make the subject itself more appealing by breaking it down into concepts that are smaller steps and giving concrete examples that make sense in their world. This builds confidence that they are capable of learning this new skill. And finally, we want to avoid surprises like pop quizzes. That just causes people to feel anxious and unprepared and frustrated, and that creates a negative attitude towards learning, which does not help with their motivation. So here's an example of how I talk about prosody in interpreting. I break it up into English prosody versus ASL prosody. And then I break it down even further by examining each of the parts of the whole. So I'm trying to make the subject more appealing by breaking down the bigger concept into smaller, more digestible chunks, and thereby increasing the positive attitude they have towards learning about prosody. Another major motivational condition that they mention is competence. So when someone feels competent, it inspires confidence. When a person is confident in their ability to learn, they are motivated for further success. There's several ways that we can create this condition of competence. The most important tool is providing effective feedback along with effective praise, which can certainly be some cheerleading, but also very specific comments on what is going well and what needs improving and how to go about doing that. Once you've given that feedback, you want to provide ongoing assessment and opportunities for self assessment. If they feel competent enough to identify what's challenging for them, then they're going to have the confidence to improve it. And when they're receiving assessments or participating in self assessment, we want to make sure that the rubrics by which they are being measured are fair and explicit. Again, no surprises. Finally, showing how they can apply what they've learned immediately in real life creates the motivation to become competent at that skill. Here's an example of the rubric that I show my interpreters who are trying to pass our assessment test. This is the exact grading sheet that the raters will use. I break down each category, I talk about what it means, and how it is scored. So once the interpreters understand the details around how they'll be assessed, they feel competent to focus on which skills that they need to develop further. They understand the goal, and there are no surprises. The final motivational condition is meaning. And for me, this is the biggie. If what they're learning doesn't relate to their interests or concerns or values, it is going to be really difficult to motivate the learner. So we need to create the condition of meaning by relating their learning to the real world. We need to ask powerful, meaningful questions and present them with real world problems to solve. We need to put all of their learning into a context that they can understand and show them how it will be practiced in their future. So sometimes we are going to need to help people find the meaning. And one way is to present the powerful question of why. Why should you bother? Why should you care? Why is this important for you to know right now? In a management offsite for my company, the VP of operations gave us all this book, Find Your Why by Simon Sinek. And then he told us a really touching story about an experience he had with a deaf person that made him realize that breaking down communication barriers is what he wanted to do with the rest of his life. And then he asked us for our story. He asked us to think about that deaf person who inspired us to become an interpreter, and we were able to share our stories in small groups. This created a great positive attitude among everyone in the room and really helped us remember that through all the conflict and all the change, why are we really here? So I would love to hear one of your whys. If you could post a response in Canvas so that we can all share in your experience and your story, that would be great. Thank you so much for listening. And here are the references for the presentation. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me in Canvas. Again, I'm Kelly Leo. Have a great day.